We are here on the Architecture Gathering Conference in Munich, Germany, and you have held a talk about blockchain and distributed ledgers and more. The first sentence you said is there is something really slow regarding blockchain. But before you answer my question, what you are meaning about really slow, please introduce yourself shortly.
Okay, so as you said, my name is Stefan Tilkov. I am with a company called InnoQ, where I am one of the co-founders as well as a technical architect consultant. I'm also a co-chairman of the iSAQB, which is actually the association that organizes or helps organize this particular conference. And it also has, or has planned, probably at the time this is viewable, it'll have released a module about blockchain, so I'm a little bit involved with this whole aspect. And I spend some time in projects, talking to people about architectural decisions, and occasionally a new hype comes along and we need to assess it and make sense of it. And I pick those that I find interesting, and I found blockchain interesting, so it's the one I decided to find more about and talk about.
Okay, that's fine. So you are deep inside the blockchain theme, so you know what you're meaning with slow. Incredible slow, so probably you can say some words about that.
Right. So of course, a little bit of it is that I like being provocative in a talk. I like to get people interested in the whole thing, and it actually depends on what kind of blockchain we're talking about, how slow they actually are. If it's what most people associate with blockchain, which is something like Bitcoin, a public network that uses the proof of work consensus concept, then it actually turns out to be really, really, really slow. In the case of Bitcoin, that roughly translates to a throughput of about 5 to 6 transactions per second, which is not exactly impressive. Considering that most major financial networks like Visa or other providers do tens of thousands of transactions per second, that's pretty sad. But it actually is the direct result of the way things are architected in this particular solution, which is that a lot of the trust that you typically have to have in the participants in other networks actually is established by mathematical means. And the fact that it takes so long to create a block which limits the throughput of the whole system is actually not a bug, it's a feature. It's supposed to take this long because if it takes so long, it means it takes you a lot of computing power, which actually means that it would be a major effort to forge something. So it is quite slow, but that's the direct result of the trust we can have in the system, if we believe that this kind of trust is superior to the one we traditionally have.
Okay, so the summary, in my words, is the public part, so everybody can contribute to the blockchain like Bitcoin, and the kind of achieve trust to each other is the reason for the slowliness. And if we have another kind of blockchain, like not public, a private blockchain with a few contributors, it might be much faster.
Right. Although I hesitate, I think many people say that, well, yeah, okay, obviously Bitcoin is just stupid. Let's just do something else. I think that's the wrong way to phrase it. You didn't. I just say that many people view it that way. I don't think that's actually true. Actually, Bitcoin addresses a problem that's worth addressing, which is the getting financial services to people who can't get a bank account or a credit card or who cannot partake in the traditional financial system. Most of us can. The two of us, we can. We have multiple credit cards and bank accounts or whatever, so we don't have the problem that Bitcoin actually solves. So to us, it might be just something to play around with, or maybe try to make some extra money by speculating with that thing. But potentially, at least for people who don't have access to those kinds of things, it is really a truly life-changing or world-changing opportunity. On the other hand, if it's applied to a situation where this is simply not needed, then it turns out to be a huge waste of everything, of complexity, energy, cost. It just makes no sense at all to apply something that gives you the trust within the system if you have the trust anyway around it. Then it's if like in your closed group of close collaborators or partners, you establish a public proof of work blockchain, that's just stupid. So don't do that in that case. Pick one of the other options.
This is the part where the architect comes in, for the architecture decisions. You have talked about this in your session, that you have to ask the right questions to decide if you need a blockchain, or you call it distributed ledgers, or whatever you call it.
Yeah, right.
And sometimes the easier and the best way is just use the database,
well,
and not something distributed worldwide or something like that. So this is then the architecture part. Is this every time the same, what you are trained in the trainings for the iSAQB to educate the upcoming architects to do the right decisions?
That's an excellent question. So absolutely yes, very, very strong yes. This particular model is a great example, right? When we proposed, we and others, we didn't exclusively do it, but a number of companies proposed to do an advanced module on this particular topic. So when we proposed it, there was a lot of skepticism about the whole thing, rightfully so, because people said, do we really need that? Has it matured enough? Is it something that we can teach to people so that they can make an informed decision? Or is it just a big piece of hype, big BS hype that's not worth anything? And I think there is a lot of hype in this particular thing, so many people apply it blindly or stupidly to situations where it shouldn't be applied this way. But there definitely is a situation or a set of scenarios where it makes an awful lot of sense. So that, I think, is the core qualification of an architect, to take a look at the multiple options that you have and then assess the desired qualities of a system, right? Functional as well as non-functional or cross-functional, whatever you want to call them, quality attributes, and you look at them and say, okay, for this particular scenario, this type of architecture would be the right one. So helping people make informed decisions about those kinds of things is exactly what iSAQB is all about.
Okay, and in the trainings, the iSAQB support is probably the wrong word, but in the curriculum of the iSAQB, is there more of these hype themes, not only blockchain, hyperledger, or distributed ledgers, or something like machine learning, deep learning, or what it's called today, artificial intelligence? How do you?
So we don't have a machine learning module yet, but it's very high on the agenda to get one, because it's an obvious thing, and I would say all the same arguments apply there. It is something that's a very interesting but fascinating technology, with lots of opportunities to be put to good use as well as to be misused catastrophically. So it's a very useful thing to discuss those things with all of the modules, and this one as well. I would say that the different modules sit on different positions on the hype cycle curve, right? Some of them are on the rising thing, like for example, machine learning, I still think is still a bit on the rise, whereas blockchain maybe is in the trough of disillusionment, where many people are now very annoyed at the whole thing. We have some things that are very clearly matured to a point where they're almost boring, like SOA, for example. It's still important. So we have a module. It's still, courses get taught. People book that. People are interested in that. We have things like web architecture, which is a basic, core thing, or enterprise architecture, which is a long-running kind of thing. There are lots of modules that have long-term value. Some that are a little earlier in the hype cycle, but all of them from the actual curriculum, if you look at it, all of them, the association takes great pains to make sure that the training providers are actually held responsible for providing something that's actually more than just selling you, this is the coolest technology of the day, just find a problem that matches the solution. It should always be the other way around.
Yeah, so sometimes my opinion or my opinion is that the architects in a project, in the software or IT project, are not the coolest guys, because they often have to discuss the alternatives of technologies to use. But at the iSAQB curriculum, you decide, or you show that these decisions are very useful and not needless, just go the hype way.
Right, so I think there's a difference. I agree with you, so I would say that we both probably share the view that choosing boring technology is a very good mantra. Pick the most boring thing that will actually solve the problems you have, as opposed to some that you would like to have so that you could try out this new cool stuff. I still think it's very valuable to be informed and to be up to date with the options that you have, because if you run into some problem that you simply cannot solve, with this particular way of solving things that you have used for 20 years, then something new comes along and says, well, this could actually be the case where this is actually worth exploring. So it has to be a reasonable mixture. You want innovation, you want to try new things, you want to find new opportunities for solving problems, or maybe creating new business opportunities, not just solving existing things, but creating new chances for your business to do something very cool. But you still want to do that with a pragmatic, down-to-earth, reasonable approach that will actually get you to a result.
Okay, that's fine. Do you think that an architect has to learn to differentiate between the different buzzwords like SOA or microservices, and probably to figure out that there are some similarities between service-oriented architecture and the microservice architecture? So, in my opinion, there are some similarities, and it depends a little bit on the problem which you will use, or which word you are used to describe it, and to whom you are talking. So communication is one point in the knowledge and the capabilities for an architect.
I completely agree, and I think that my personal experience, it really depends on the mindset of the group you're talking to. If you're talking to a number of people who think there is absolutely no value in this new thing, who tell you that they've been doing that for 20 years and this is just boring old crap, they've been doing it forever, then they're very likely wrong, because they're missing the little parts that are actually new and different. So I would go to them and explain to them what is actually different and what's new and why they should be excited about this thing. If somebody on the other hand tells me that all this old stuff is completely boring and should be thrown away, it has no worth at all, they were all stupid back then, and the only thing that matters is this new cool stuff, then I will tell them, well, actually, a lot of this has been there before and we have experience with this. So I think maybe it's a little bit of respect for both sides, right? You want to have mature, well-established, proven technology. You want to have that as the foundation of the most important things you do. But you don't want to close yourself to innovation and to new, exciting things. So you have to find a good balance between those two extremes, and then you're going to be a good architect. That's my opinion.
Okay. So, and how does the curriculum reflect, or the curricula of the iSAQB reflect these levels of architecture? I know there is a foundation level and there is an advanced on expert level, so this gives you the chance to be in different level of architect and how to talk to one, is it?
So I would argue that the foundation level is, and that may not be the best sales phrase to use here, I think it is slightly boring, but that's a good thing. I think this foundation level is a very, as its name implies, a very foundational kind of thing. What you learn in the foundation training should be stuff that you can use for a decade. Should not be, changed by anything just coming along. There is interesting and cool stuff in that's very hyped at the moment. For example, there is a little optional section about domain-driven design. But to me, that's just one example, right? You would look at domain-driven design, which is an advanced level module in its own right, 2 or 3 day module, depending on the training provider. But it's a very, very sophisticated training that really focuses on the state-of-the-art things in domain-driven design. But in the foundation level training, you would rather expect to be taught that there are things like this, and that they are, about stereotyping the kinds of solutions that you have, and about, finding good ways of decoupling systems and coupling and cohesion, more foundational things. So the goal is really that the foundation level training should be applicable to almost everybody who has to do architectural work. Doesn't even have to have an architect's label on their business card or anything like that, or official architect's role. Anybody who makes important decisions about important systems, I think, can benefit from this foundation level training. So that's a very good thing. For example, in our company, we have the rule that basically everybody should have that certification, should do that training.
So they talk the same language, they speak the same language.
It sets a foundation of certain things. And then the advanced level is more of an optional thing. It takes a lot more work, and it's very much adaptable to the needs and interests of a particular person. So you can pick things from different branches of the industry. You have to mix things with different core competencies like communication skills, as well as technical skills and method skills. You have to combine modules to reach a certain level, and then you have to do this particular, this actual task where you have to spend like a week or so building or creating a solution for something. So that is a much more sophisticated kind of thing. I think it means more. It's an advanced level after all. It should mean more.
One question is that there there are a lot of modules you can decide or pick up. Do you have to pick every model?
No, of course not.
So you have the broad chance, but you can go narrow to one which is more interesting for you, but you have to do some points. I saw some.
Yeah, good question. So the modules give you you gain credit points by attending a course that follows one of those module curricula, and you need to have 70 points in all, and you get those 70 points from three different categories: communication, method, and technology. And you have to have 10 in each of those categories. So you can look at a module and say, this gives me 20 points technology, 10 points method, skills, so I'll pick that, and then I'll have to add other modules like soft skills or whatever it is. But you have a very good opportunity to build something that caters to your personal needs and gives you the most value of the whole thing, which is the idea.
So, and then after the advanced level, there is an expert level, or is there an expert level?
Yes, it's planned. It's not yet finalized. We're currently discussing. I would say we're nearing the final stages. There's still some discussion going on about how to exactly do it. So I don't want to say too much about it, but it is something that we have planned as sort of the final level of the ladder of things that you can do there. It's been requested a lot, and we think it's a useful thing. It'll be different. There will not be like an exam or anything. We don't think an expert level lends itself very well to an exam, specifically not in a field like software architecture, where that's really hard. But it's definitely under planning, and we're pretty happy with what we have so far, and looking forward to the other things. So.
Okay, fine. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. And one last question regarding membership of the association. What has an active member to do in the association? Is there sometimes currently nowadays membership in an association means a lot of work for nothing? What is the give back from the?
So we definitely like to welcome new members, specifically in non-German speaking countries. So it's fine if you're in Germany, Switzerland, Austria, it's fine, you can join as well. But we specifically would like to enhance our membership in other countries. Whatever the native language, we would like to enhance our internationalization efforts, and are very strongly investing in that particular thing. So the association is spending quite some time there. So to become a member, you should have an interest in the education of software architects. So that's a sort of a prerequisite. And then we sort of expect you to invest effort and work. So to give you a rough idea, a good estimate will be like 10 working days per year. That's a reasonable effort. Can be a little less, a little more. Maybe 1 year you do a little less, and the next year you do a little more. But that's roughly what we expect from people. We do think there's a lot of value to be gained from the whole thing, like the people you meet, the discussions you have, the networking opportunities you have, the actual building of stuff together, like creating a curriculum of something gives you a lot of opportunities to learn about that particular thing. If you happen to be a trainer or training provider, it creates an actual business opportunity, even though the association remains very neutral and does not favor anybody over anybody else. It's still worthwhile if you believe in this kind of education combined with certification. It's a very nice opportunity to engage and meet other people who share that interest.
Cool. That sounds like a great opportunity for everybody who wants to learn more of architecture. And thank you very much for this interview.